drink in the dark. You must pay the rent.
Oh, no. But I can't pay the rent.
You must pay the rent.
But I can't pay the rent.
You must pay the rent. I will pay the rent.
My hero.
Curses, foiled again.
What's that, Dad? You're becoming a melodramatic actor now?
No way, no way. I hate melodramas. However, that gives me a great idea. Maybe I should take up acting as a profession.
Oh, well, if you do, be sure to take performance-enhancing drugs first.
Stop that! Shame on you. He was only trying to add a little humor to lighten up this dreary morgue.
Blame a guy for trying. I was simply imitating our landlord when he came by the other day. Your mother as she tried to get rid of him, and me coming to the rescue. I only wish that...
Don't be so hard on yourself, dear. It's not your fault you lost your job. It's this darn recession. You'll be working again soon, I'm sure.
That's easy for you to say. Nice of you to be so optimistic. You're not the one that has to stand on that unemployment line.
Listen, things could be a lot worse. Look, think of this as a challenge. You'd be surprised how far you can stretch that unemployment dollar when you have to.
Granny's right. Now don't worry. This too shall pass.
How could I not worry? The economy sucks, and I have no job and no money. We can hardly afford this turkey, let alone presents for the kids. This is not exactly what I would call a Merry Christmas.
Presents aren't everything. They'll get over it.
Speak for yourself, Granny. I'll never get over it.
Yeah, when are we going to get to open the rest of our presents anyway?
I'm sorry, kids, but we can't afford to give you all those lavish presents you want this year. I know it's depressing news. It's just the reality of the situation.
Depressing is an understatement.
Would you stop with the toot? You're not helping matters.
Sorry, I'm just bummed I didn't get what I wanted for Christmas, which is a PC laptop with an 18-inch screen, an 8 gig memory, and a 750 gig hard drive. Duh.
Jeez. Do you have any idea how much one of those costs? Cut us some slack here. Just be grateful for the one gift you got.
Really? We're only getting one gift this year? Wow, that really sucks. I thought I was going to get a PS2 gaming system with a wireless and a headset. Duh.
Good grief. You sound like a couple of spoiled brats. Now, just lighten up, would you?
How would you feel if you didn't get what you wanted for Christmas?
Well, so far, pretty much I'm not getting my wish either.
Which is?
All I want for Christmas is...
Your 2 front teeth?
No. A happy family. Seems like the only one who's happy around here is Granny.
All right, listen, all of you. Unless you've been through the Great Depression, you have no idea what the real meaning of the word depressed is. You kids ought to thank your lucky stars for the little bit you do have. Things could be a lot worse.
What on earth is she talking about?
Should I know? She's your Granny.
Okay, so, Granny, what is the Great Depression anyway?
All right, let's see if I can explain it to you. As best as I can describe it, it was when the economy fell apart. It happened in 1929 and it lasted for a really long time.
It was a time when the entire world economy was very unstable. The stock market crashed and there was a run on the banks.
Right.
Hanged.
A lot of people lost a lot of money. Some people even lost their life savings.
Factories and businesses closed. A lot of people lost their jobs. It happened almost overnight. It was a very scary time. A lot worse than what we're going through right now.
How long did it last?
Lasted for a lot of years. I was just a young girl at the time, but our family of 6 had to move into a 1-bedroom house because that's all we could afford.
Wow, that's rough.
Well, my dad had a degree in communications, but he couldn't find a job anywhere. He looked and he looked, but there was just no jobs to be had.
It sounds familiar. Nowadays, it seems like everybody, when they get out of work, they just sit on the street corner and hold up a sign, "I will work for food."
Hey, maybe you should try that, Dad.
Stop it. Shame on you.
I'm not that desperate. Yeah.
Nobody held up signs back then. No, sir. My dad searched day after day for a job. Finally, he found work in a factory making 37.5 cents a day. Not his dream job, but he was just grateful to be able to put food on the table.
37.5 cents? Was that before taxes?
Sure was. He was a really hard worker. Sometimes he didn't even get to take the day off on Christmas Day. And when he did get to take it off, it was without pay.
Nowadays, when we work on Christmas Day, you get paid double time.
Not back then. It was a gift to have Dad home on Christmas Day. We know it was a big sacrifice for him. I mean, after all, he was missing out on 37.5 cents for that day.
Before taxes.
Did you ever get any Christmas presents during the Great Depression?
Sure, but usually our gifts were fruit or raisins dried on the vine. But I remember one year, I got this magnificent dollhouse. It had all these rooms in it, and it colors and movable parts. It had more room than the house we were actually living in. I didn't know it then, but I found out later that my dad made that dollhouse for me out of an old wooden box.
So, he was really thinking inside the box.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. I think that dollhouse was modeled after his dream house.
Tell us more. Did you ever get a Christmas tree during the Great Depression?
The tree was the easy part. Dad would go to a nearby field and cut down a tree, and then it was a pine tree usually, hopefully. Then he would bring it home, and we would decorate it with stuff we found around the house, like old popcorn balls and candy and paper rings and rubber band chains. Anything we could find around the house that didn't cost us anything.
Did you hang lights on the tree too?
Yeah, but lights were sometimes a problem. If one bulb went out, the whole string went out. So then you'd have to get a good bulb, search for the one that went out, replace it, then the whole string would light up again.
Nowadays, when one string burns out, we just toss it and buy a new one.
Not back then. We had to be very resourceful.
Did Santa ever come to your house during the Great Depression?
Absolutely. Santa came every year without fail, and he always brought something, no matter how broke he was. I remember we used to open the drawer and take out a sock and hang it by the fireplace. And we'd get an apple or an orange every year.
Yeah, I only eat one fruit a year too.
Not counting the Fruit Loops.
Well, something doesn't make sense to me. If you lived in a one-room house, wouldn't you see Santa when he came down the chimney?
No, never. Santa never came until all us kids were sound asleep.
Yeah, well, I think you're fibbing because there's no such thing as Santa.
Oh,
He's in phase 2.
It's phase 2.
There are 3 phases in a person's life. Phase 1, you believe in Santa. Phase 2, you don't believe in Santa. Phase 3, you are Santa.
Well, if you ask me, I would have gladly lived through the Great Depression. Seems like Christmas dinner would have been a whole lot easier to prepare back then.
hardly easy. Mama would have to catch a chicken, wring its neck, pour boiling water over its limp body, and pluck the feathers out one by one. Then she would gut it, dress it, and bake it. She also made all the fixings for dinner too.
Oh my gosh, that is so disgusting.
No, not disgusting. She also managed to make a fruit cake every year for dessert. For some reason, she never had much of an appetite after that.
Well, I can see why. How could you stand it?
It's just how it was back then. No one sat around moaning the blues or feeling sorry for themselves. The Depression made us thankful for everything we did have. It's the reason I became so frugal at such a young age.
Frugal, try stingy.
Stop that! Shame on you. There was nothing wrong with being frugal. They had to be really careful not to be wasteful. Well, Granny didn't throw anything away, did you, Granny?
Only when it's absolutely necessary.
She even has clothes in her closet that she hasn't worn for years. Just because she can't part with them. And just in case she needs them.
You never know. I can find a way to recycle or repurpose almost anything. For instance, when we would open our gifts, we would very carefully slide our finger under the paper and under the tape so we wouldn't rip the paper.
Hey, that's a
Then we would take it over, fold it up, and use it again to wrap another gift.
Nowadays, everybody just rips through the paper and tosses it away.
We also used to save up little pieces of string to make ribbons to tie the gifts up with. There was an old saying, use it up, wear it out, make it do, or do without. Those were words to live by.
So you recycle the gift wrap and the ribbons and the boxes too?
Sure did. Sometimes I even made the boxes. One time, I found some cardboard near my neighbor's trash can, and so I took it. I didn't know what I was going to use it for, but I knew I was going to find something to do with it.
Granny was a dumpster diver.
I like to think of it as saving useful stuff from a potential landfill.
So, you saved perfectly good cardboard and made a box out of it?
Right, but it wasn't an ordinary box. It was a very special box. I made it in the shape of a heart, and I glued the seams together, and I made a lid for it, and I covered the whole thing in scraps of wallpaper that I also found in the dumpster.
You always were the crafty one.
You can say that again.
Stop it, shame on you.
Then what did you do with the box?
Well, one Christmas, I put a bunch of little handmade gifts inside the box, and I gave it to my granny. That would be your great-great-granny.
You had a granny too?
Sure I did. She was a great woman, my Granny Smith.
So this box you speak of, it was kind of like a Pandora's box, right?
Well, not exactly. There wasn't anything evil in it. Only beautiful things. But it didn't matter so much what was inside it. What she treasured most was that it was filled with love. She said it could be filled with rocks and she would still love that box.
A box of rocks, how appropriate.
Great-great-granny Smith was a little king too. She saved that box. And years later, when she got very old, she gave the box back to me.
She re-gifted it? How tacky.
It wasn't tacky at all. She said she wanted me to have it when she was gone. That Christmas, she put something wonderful in that box, and she gave it back to me. Okay, so can any of you guess what she put in it?
Rocks?
Mistletoe?
Underwear?
Yeah, like granny panties.
No, you're all wrong. She gave me, are you ready for this? She gave me a great, big, shiny Granny Smith apple.
Well, of course.
After that, the box was called the Granny Box.
So whatever happened to the granny box?
Well, see, I never told any of you about this before, but, well, I don't quite know how to tell you this.
Well, what? What is it?
Are you sure you want to know?
You know what?
Well, okay, after Granny died, we put her ashes in it.
Oh my gosh, that is so gross.
We couldn't really afford a proper funeral. I mean, after all, it was the time of the Great Depression. So we just, okay. So her ashes were in the box, but she's not still there. See, one day when I was cleaning, I accidentally knocked over the box and spilled her on the floor.
No.
Yeah, I'm afraid so. Well, I swept her up, and when I couldn't sweep up, I mopped up the rest of it.
Oh, my land.
Well, after that, we decided it would probably be best to lay her to rest in the ground where she really belonged.
Oh, thank God. Okay, so then did you bury her in the granny box?
Oh, I couldn't part with that box. We put her in a proper urn and buried her under a Granny Smith apple tree.
How appropriate.
So, where is the box now?
I still have it. I keep all my treasures in it.
What kind of treasures?
It's things I've saved over the years. Whenever I feel sad or depressed, I open that box, and all I have to do is look inside, and it lifts my spirits.
Where is it?
I tucked it away in the closet with all the clothes that I won't part with. Oh, wait, I'll go get it. Let's see. Wait there.
Marie, do you think she's serious?
I think she's completely lost her mind.
I'm still trying to figure out what she means about Granny's ashes. Is Granny a smoker?
I'll explain later.
Let's just think about this for a second. A box in the shape of a heart containing a Granny Smith apple, then containing Granny Smith, until it was spilled out and finally swept up and interred under a Granny Smith apple tree.
Oh, now I get it.
Now it's used for storage for treasured knickknacks. Well, that's not so far-fetched, is it?
Oh no, not at all.
It's official. She's lost her mind.
I
Do you really think so?
It's a fruit cake. Shh, here she comes. Just shoot.
Here it is.
Remnants of Granny.
Can we open it?
Well, sure. Let's see what we have in here. I haven't looked in this box in ages.
Guess she hasn't been depressed in ages.
Stop that. Oh, wow, look at that.
What is it?
A dead bug.
Ashes.
Okay. I have so many cards and letters in here. Some of them are from you kids. These are my treasures.
Hey, what's this?
This is my diary. My granny gave this to me for Christmas in 1935.
How do you remember that?
Because it says, Merry Christmas, 1935, Low Granny. Not too hard to remember. Anyway, I used to write my favorite poems and sayings in this book. I was writing in it all the time. I even have a separate section in here about Christmas. Okay, here it is. Look, here's what I've always loved. He who has not Christmas in his heart will never find it under a tree. Roy L. Smith.
That's lovely.
Oh, sure.
Oh, here's a good one. Christmas waves a magic wand over this world, and behold, everything is softer and more beautiful. Norman Vincent Peale.
I always liked that one. It reminds me of the box. Christmas waves a magic wand over the granny box, and behold, everything is more beautiful. Oh, look, here's another good one. I will honor Christmas in my heart and try to keep it all the year. Charles Dickens.
Hey, that's the dude that wrote A Christmas Carol.
That's right. Oh, and here's one of my favorite
There
Christmas.
once was a man from Nantucket.
Let me read the poem.
Oh, okay.
I heard the bells on Christmas Day, their old familiar carols play. And wild and sweet the words of peace on earth, goodwill to men. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow.
Nicely done.
Thank you very much. That was impressive.
Thank you very much. Don't worry. Oh wait, here's another one of my all-time favorites. This seems kind of appropriate for today. What is Christmas? It is tenderness for the past, courage for the present, hope for the future. It is a fervent wish that every cup may overflow with blessings, rich and eternal, and that every path may lead to peace. Agnes M. Parrot.
I wish right now that my cup would overflow with rich blessings.
Don't worry, it will again. Just enjoying Christmas is a blessing in itself. See, the granny box made us feel a little better. Admit it.
I don't know, I'm still kind of creeped out over Granny's ashes.
Well, I feel better now. There's a lot of history in that box. And you really do have a tenderness for the past.
Yes, I do. And we should all have courage for the present and hope for the future.
Okay, I admit it. You're a wise old woman. And I'm sorry for thinking you were a fruitcake.
Not a fruitcake. Just a little nutty sometimes. And proud of it.
Since you've been around the block a few times, what do you think? Think we're ever going to get out of this recession?
I'm sure of it. You'll see, people will be prosperous again one day. But there are some lessons you can learn from what we're all going through right now.
Like what lessons?
Like, be thankful for what you've got. Don't fret over what you don't have. Just remember, everything will work out in the end.
What if it doesn't?
Then it's not the end.
Thanks for lifting our spirits, Granny.
It wasn't me. It was the granny box that lifted our spirits. There is one more lesson we should all learn. We should all take this lesson, and it's one of my favorites. It's a saying that I love.
What is it?
What is it?
It is, yesterday is history. Tomorrow is a mystery. But today is a gift. That's why they call it the present.